Hi, friends. I'm Dana Lewison, therapist and founder of the Empowerment Collective.
And I'm Dr. Roshni Patel. I'm a board certified OBGYN and a physician founder of Luminate Gynecology.
Today, we are talking about boundaries.
Just in time for the holidays.
Absolutely. We have all been there. That feeling of being overscheduled, overcommitted, dreading the next get together, family time during the holidays, perhaps. Oftentimes, though, it's because we have either weak or non existent boundaries. So, today we are going to talk about what boundaries are, why they're important, and then how do we begin to even set them.
And we're also going to share our take two and call us in the morning, where we give you two of our, favorite tips from today's episodes so you can enjoy your holiday season. All right, let's get into it.
So, Roshni, when you start thinking about boundaries, what comes to mind for you?
I always think about Thanksgiving.
Oh, geez. Do share.
We
Do
yeah,
share.
we have been hosting Thanksgiving, I don't know, almost 20 years now, and I used to be the lead cook, and then my brother sort of took over, and it becomes this, like, you have to invite this cousin because you're inviting that cousin, and it just becomes this, like, bigger thing, and it's at my mom's house, but this year, it was tricky because people happened to be traveling, and, someone was having a procedure, and they didn't wanna, like, be around a lot of people to keep themselves healthy, and I was like, "Mom, let's just keep it a simple, low key, just us Thanksgiving."
Mm.
It would be so nice, if we could just, have a low key Thanksgiving with, like, I don't know, 10 people, and when I think about boundaries, I always, like, you know, offer less than I can actually do, because for me and how boundaries show up in my life is I offer a little bit and people want more. So I offer more less than I can even, I negotiate under. And we're going to talk about this too, like what boundaries actually mean. I don't even know if that's a boundary. That's just been my strategy around Thanksgiving.
No, it really is a boundary, actually. Yeah, for me, I always think about, and this is not just for the holidays, but for me, it's always about when you're feeling overwhelmed and overstressed, and someone from one of the schools is like, "Will you volunteer for this?" Or,
Mm,
"Hey, we think you'd be great for this position on either the PTA or something else." No, no, I will not. I'm sorry. No, I will not make, you know, 200 cookies for tomorrow for this activity. No, I'm more likely to Venmo you for
yeah.
ingredients and you can make the cookies. And even so far as when people are like, well, let's meet for coffee and I can tell you about it. No, you will not take me for coffee to convince me about why I need to volunteer for this activity that I don't want to do. I don't have time for coffee and I don't have time to volunteer. So for me, that is absolutely no to
Yeah.
setting that boundary, but no explanations needed. So boundaries, I think we need to start looking at as a form of self care. Just like
Yeah.
we talked about in one of our previous episodes, without boundaries, we get burnout, we get stress. And certainly around this season when germs are going around,
Mm.
if we get run down, our immune systems get run down, we are going to get sick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so smart to think about it like that. It's that time of year, people get sick. But also, do you think the holidays in and of themselves make boundary setting more difficult?
Absolutely. I mean, the holidays amplify everything for us, right?
Mm.
People are like extra joyous and extra jolly, but we're also extra stressed,
Yep.
right? The family dynamics. I remember in graduate school, one of the family therapy classes that I was taking, the professor was like, listen, guys, do not go home to Thanksgiving this year and start working your new stuff that you've learned into your family. You are going to see it all because it's just that's when everything kind of becomes a mess, or that's when you see these dynamics coming out if they're there, right? If
Right.
there's something that your family does a certain dance, right? There's a certain dynamic. The holidays are when you're going to see it. It's just more in your face. Everyone's a little more stressed.
Mhm.
But then there's the typical stressors of who's hosting? What are the expectations of who are you spending the holidays with?
Oh, yeah.
There's that, traditional, or I guess I'll say stereotypical, maybe even. Do you spend it with whose partner? Are you
Right.
spending it with one side's family one
Family.
year and then the other? Do you switch? Does the entire family from both sides come together? What does that dynamic look like? Is that calm? Is that not fun? Does everyone have, like, the crazy Uncle Bob that's there and causes drama? What does that situation look
Right.
like for everybody? And then also traveling. You have young children, even not young children. I have a teenager. He doesn't necessarily want to be hanging out with everybody. Kids sometimes just want to be on their phone,
Yeah.
or if you have children with special needs or kids with ADHD and maybe they don't want to sit still at Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner calmly the way your family expects them to. What does that look like? How does that change the dynamic for everyone? And so there's this expectation of family holidays, believe, have to be picture perfect. The movies, the social media, everything needs to look a certain way. We have to dress up. Everyone has to be, polite and on their best behavior. That causes a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And as we believe, and it is why we do this podcast, that falls on the moms.
A lot of the times it does. It really
Yeah.
does. And I liked how you point out like the stereotypes that we all see and sometimes we perpetuate them without even
Yeah.
thinking, whether it's the holidays or like birthdays, milestone events, graduations. That's another thing, like any school thing, right? It starts turning
Yeah.
into what everyone else expects, and then also like performance review for the moms.
Yes.
And one of the things like we've talked about, the expectation is invisible until you break it, until you don't do it, right? And that's when your boundaries really become essential. Like if you're the mom that doesn't bake the cookies or whatever it is, you become very visible, as, "Oh, that mom doesn't do it." Or if
Right.
your kids aren't picture perfect, whatever that even means.
Right.
No one's kids were ever picture perfect. Like, why are we doing this to the kids? If your
No.
kids, like, I don't know, don't behave the way, like, your family members expect them to, you're highly seen as, like, a mom who can't control her kids. But why is that even an expectation?
And then you're setting yourself up to fail. I mean,
Mhm.
like, we didn't do holiday cards this year. We actually didn't do them last year. And I think the expectation to have to do them and the expectation of you need to do holiday cards because everybody else has done holiday cards, it's stressful and you got to order them ahead of time and then who you send them out. It's just so this year I was like, actually, it was last year. Last year I did a virtual card. This year I'm like, I'm actually just not even going to send a virtual card. We're not doing
We're
them.
just not doing it.
If you're doing the cookie exchange and you want to be part of it, it's okay to do slice and bake. It's okay to buy pre made cookie dough.
Yeah.
There are shortcuts and still to participate in things. But I think it's important, though, here, right? We're talking about expectations and we're talking about boundaries. So, what do you think is the difference between the two?
Yes, and, it took me a while to actually figure this out. So this is important because I used to mix them up and clarify, teasing them out really clarifies things for me. Hopefully, it will for our listeners as well. I think of a boundary as a limit that I set for myself to protect my, emotional, mental, and physical well-being. It's about me and what I can do, not necessarily what my family member or someone outside of me can do. And boundaries really define what I can do without resentment. And that's different from an expectation because an expectation is almost like an assumption that
Yeah.
you make about other people or like how you expect them to behave or act. And a lot of times these expectations are generated from our culture, our family dynamics, traditions within families, sometimes some not so nice ones like guilt. I feel like guilt is a family tradition.
That's very much passed down. Very much.
Yeah. And the important piece is like you can manage a boundary, right? That's something that's a me statement, that's an I thing. But you can't manage someone else's expectations. You can change your own expectations. I expect Dana to laugh at my jokes, but I can't make you laugh at my jokes.
It's a good thing Dana laughs at all your
Yeah.
jokes.
And this is a quick reality check. This plays out during the holidays, winter season, in so many ways. Your family might be hosting, I don't know, whatever holiday that's associated with food, and they're going to make whatever kind of food they want. My husband and I deal with this all the time. We don't like to eat certain things, So we will bring one item that we know works with how we like to eat. And we'll bring enough for everybody. We want to share, no problem. But also, we're not expecting you to eat it. It's something that we're doing for ourselves. Like we can control our boundaries. We can't control, expectations.
I think it's also really important with the expectation piece to recognize that expectations are also not just about what we think about others, but
Hmm.
recognizing other people's expectations on ourselves. So if I know what my family expects of us, whether I agree to it or not,
Yeah.
and then I also know what I expect of my family or myself. Using that information, using that data that I've
Yeah.
collected
Sure.
over the years, that's how I can set a boundary. So if you are using that, food example, it's going, okay, well, my family expects us to eat together on the holiday. I understand that, but I'm also going to let them know that that's fine, but we might not be eating what you are serving.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And even like for Thanksgiving, if you have a child, maybe the child is a picky eater. Maybe the child has ARFID and actually has sensory issues and
Right.
can't eat everything on the table. Setting that boundary of, hey, yeah, we're going to come to Thanksgiving, but nobody is going to make a comment on what my child is eating. And if they eat a roll and that is it, that's fine because what they eat is between me and them and their
Yeah.
doctor. It is not between grandparents, aunts and uncles, friends, nobody else. And if that boundary is broken, if there is commentary on what my child is eating, then you need to also put a consequence. It's not
Yeah.
just setting that boundary, it's coming up with the consequence. If this is something that we can't follow, then what? Well, maybe we don't come to Thanksgiving anymore,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe we eat before we come to Thanksgiving, and then your expectation of us eating together is no longer going to be fulfilled. So it's looking at, what is that want versus what is that need and understanding that. I think for during the holidays, especially for family expectations, there's so much of this need of like, we're all spending time together. We're all doing all that we're having every minute together.
Yeah. Right.
And especially for families where you're traveling out of town and then you're therefore going to be spending, more than a few days at a family member's house. I know for some of my clients, they're going to travel and spend even 2+ weeks
Oof.
with family that's out of town. I know it's a lot.
That's a lot.
And so the expectation is we're going to have lots of family time.
Hmm.
So I say the boundary that you set is making sure that you do have that time for yourself. Figure out ahead of time, not when you are there,
Yep.
ahead of time so you can communicate your boundaries. I am going to need time for myself. I'm going to do that by every morning. I'm going to go for a walk or I'm going to go for a run. Being able to let people know that, hey, I know we're visiting for 2 weeks, but my family is going to go out to dinner on their own a couple nights. Is there a night that works best for your
Right.
part of the family?
Sure.
So it's communicating it. Again, it's not being rude. It's having that communication, communicating those expectations with everyone else. Hey, is there a date that's better for you for me to do this? But it's still letting them know I am going to be doing this. Also, and we've spoken about it before, no one can bother you when you're in the bathroom.
Mm.
So if that has to be your escape,
Escape.
go.
Hide out.
I also think coffee breaks where you're like, hey, I'm going to go pick up coffee. Who wants anything? I'll go do it on my own.
Yeah.
You're like doing something nice for everyone, but it's also the, hey, I'm doing this up by myself. I need a minute.
I
But
love the little hideout in the car, just take, like, 5 minutes sometimes or even longer to be like, "I just need to sit by myself for
yeah,
a little while more."
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's my little micro self-care.
Yeah.
And it's so important to establish the boundaries ahead of time, stick to them with the consequences that you've decided, understand the expectations people may have of you, and that it cuts both ways. Like, you might have expectations of others, right? Like, you might tell your family member, like, "Hey, we're gonna bring the food that my child can eat because he or she has some kind of allergy," or whatever the case, just whatever, picky eater, it
Right.
doesn't matter. And you can expect them not to say anything or like make it a topic of conversation, but they could just totally disregard that. And you get to decide then, okay, what are you going to do? Like, what's your next step? And like you said, it doesn't have to be this big, whole dramatic, contentious thing. It could be very clean, very logical. But there's still this thing, and this happens to me a lot. It makes it sometimes hard to say no, or hard to even have that conversation. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Do you feel the same
I
way?
do. What is that for you? What do you think those barriers are that I'll
You know,
share
the
what gets in my
yeah,
way?
well, when I first, like, started to, like, even speak up was, like, a little bit more around, like, the fear of conflict, right? I'm a recovering people pleaser, I'll say it like that, and, I would not wanna, like, say something to, upset my family, especially my mom or my dad, um, that goes along with, like, fear of disappointment. I was the good girl for a long time, and then when you start saying no, or you start saying something that's different to their expectations, whether that's like your parents, your in-laws, people that are older to you than you and your family, like aunts, uncles that you're supposed to respect. Respect doesn't mean, blind acquiescence. And in
Right.
some cultures, that's what it is. When you check them on that reality that it's not blind acquiescence, there is this disagreement, disappointment, and that fear often kept my voice small. But like broadly, this applies to, I think, a lot of women and girls in general. We have this performance expectation. As the mom, you're supposed to show up at the school events and bring the cookies and do the things and volunteer. We are, conditioned to believe like our worth is tied to doing. And that, manifests itself really loudly during the holidays. Like, how many things did you make for Thanksgiving? How many Christmas gifts did you get, or holiday gifts, or Hanukkah gifts? Or did you wrap them? And how nice is your wrapping? And did you decorate your house? And are you playing Elf on the Shelf? I'm not doing that. Like, I don't
Oh my
want to.
God.
I'm not interested. I'd rather just like hang out with my family and not just like do so many things. And this role that we have as the doer and the fixer and the person responsible for all the spills and the snacks. Sometimes just, like, saying no and not rising to that larger expectation, that is hard, right? Because 'Cause you're doing something you're not used to and it's uncomfortable, but, what's the alternative? You being uncomfortable? And we were just talking about this recently, like, we are
Right.
so ready to inconvenience ourselves before we even think about inconveniencing somebody else, and today, we are saying it's okay to inconvenience somebody else, right? Like, what are you
Yes.
living for? Like, what?
Right. And also, so you're either uncomfortable because you've said yes and you don't want to, or
Right.
you're uncomfortable because you said no.
Mhm.
I'd rather be uncomfortable because I've said no, but then have
Yeah.
less work to do.
Correct. Like,
You're
who is
uncomfortable no
this?
matter what.
Right.
And the
And
more
no.
you do it, right, the more you practice it,
Yep. It gets
the
easier.
easier it becomes.
Yeah. And I heard this, like, grouping about, when we were, like, kind of researching this topic, something called, we talk about brain fog and perimenopause all the time, but there's also, like, FOG, like, as an acronym, FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt. And, like, that is, like, what's keeping us kind of small and kind of quiet. And it's drilling societal expectations, cultural whatever dynamics, and it almost conditions us to believing that saying no is wrong, but saying no is one of the most liberating, delicious.
It's literally, guys,
Ah, I love it.
ladies, anyone who's listening, just
Yeah,
try it. It
just say
feels
no.
so good. It's liberating.
Yeah,
Say no this holiday season.
say no this holiday season. Uh,
It does. It feels good. But I agree with you. I
yeah,
think for those of us who were that, fixer role and want to help people, I mean, hi, therapist here.
yeah, right?
It's, it's just like part of our nature. We were
Yeah,
born with it. And so the idea of saying no or not being able to help somebody feels so wrong. But it does. It does feel good. But it's going to feel wonky if your whole personality is like pulling you to say yes to something. And that's what your neural pathways are,
yeah.
built
You're
to do.
wired that way. Yeah,
You have to rewire. You have to teach yourself that it's okay. Look, I'm going to say no and the world won't fall apart because I've said no to baking cookies. You're going to be okay. And
yeah,
guess what? That cookie fundraiser will still go on. They will find another sucker to
yeah,
say yes and make the cookies. You don't have to do it. And your child, even when your child, oh, why won't you make the cookies? Guess what? They're going to get over it. And
yeah,
2 weeks from now, after you give them actual holiday gifts, they'll forget about the cookies.
yeah.
They won't care. You talked about Elf on the Shelf. And as we were planning for this episode, that just kept popping into my head. We don't do it. I
I
mean,
don't do it.
we don't celebrate Christmas, so there's no like dreidel on the schmeedel, so I don't have to worry about it. But oh my God, you poor people that have set yourselves up for this. And it's not just, oh, we're doing it. You are now doing this for years and years and years. And then your kids come home and they're like, you know, Susie, Schmoozy, and Lucy all
Right.
came home and talked about what their elves did. Oh my goodness, these amazing layouts that their Pinteresty moms did. And now you have to keep up. Oh my God. What a nightmare. I'm so sorry that people have to do that. It
No,
sounds terrible.
it's it's one thing if it's something you want to do. Like, I
Right.
don't want to do that. I would rather, like, let's go out to lunch in the middle of the week when you guys are off of school. To me, that's a lot more fun than me waking up extra early, earlier than I already wake up, to, like, move the elf. That's what? Like, that's not quality
Yes.
time. I want the quality time. That's what's important to me. So
It's
much
too
of
much.
our real boundaries are rooted in what we find valuable, but it's hard to say that. So how do we implement this in real life, right? Because it does take work. Like you said, we have to rewire. So how would you walk a client through rewiring for boundaries that work for her?
Yeah, I think number one is recognizing what's important to you.
Mhm.
Right? Understanding the expectation. Do I want to make the cookies? Do I want to volunteer for the class party? Do I want to do the elf on the shelf? If you want to do all of that, great.
Right.
That's not where you're going to set your boundary, right? Figure out what it is where I am overcommitting
Mhm.
or it's not suiting my children. If they can't sit at the table or they don't want to dress up for, my kids they don't want to get fancy for any holiday. So why for Thanksgiving where
Right.
they're stuffing themselves with food are they going to want to wear like, I don't know, dress pants when they wear sweatpants every day of their lives?
Right.
So for us, that's a boundary. Yes, we're coming to Thanksgiving. We are not dressing up. It's you want the Lewisons, you're having the
You're
Lewisons
getting
in
them
our sweats. Like
in
that's who
authentic
you're getting.
fashion.
Authentic us, right? Exactly. I mean, I'll buy new sweats. They'll be
Yeah.
cute, but that's me. They don't care. So what suits you? What's important for you? What's important for your children? And then communicating what that boundary is to whoever needs to know it in
Yeah.
that circle, right? And then enforcing it. If you don't recognize that this is something that's important to us or you can't follow this, what is that consequence? And of course, you're not going to be, oh, if you don't do this, the consequences, you don't want to like talk to another adult like a child,
Right.
but I would make it very clear and calm. Hey, listen, this is important to us. So I understand that you want us to eat dinner with you, or I understand that you want us to spend a week with you, or I understand that you want us all to go on vacation together. If we're going to do that, please recognize that we also need downtime.
Mhm.
And so we are going to have dinner together, just the four of us as a family one night. Or we're going to come back on Saturday instead of Sunday because then we have Sunday for just our family before everyone goes back to school to regroup and
Mhm.
chill out just us. Or we're going to, send groceries to your house of the foods that we like to eat. If, or asking, can you please pick up these foods for us?
Right.
I would start there first. But it's communicating what that is. And then if that doesn't happen, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to, and then, fill in that blank.
Yeah.
Either I don't know if we'll be able to do this again next year. It was really hard to eat on this vacation, or it felt very intense for my family, or my
Mhm.
children were very stressed out, or I was very stressed out, or whatever that looks like in whatever that situation is.
Mhm.
But to stick with it, to know that you're right, not get angry, not get defensive, but recognizing your limitations. And I don't want to say limitations, that's wrong. Recognizing what you need,
Yeah.
recognizing your needs and feeling good about them, that is okay, that you are doing so many things and your child eating a roll is not the end of the world for you. And it might be the end of the world for grandma, but cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Grandma can
It's
go kick
actually
a
it's not
rock.
grandma's problem to solve. Like,
No.
it's not hers.
Exactly. So be calm with it, be brief, do not over explain. You owe no explanation actually for
Yeah.
any of it. It could just be, hey, this is what we're doing this year. No comments are made on what my children are eating.
Yeah.
That's it. And silence is okay. You don't have to fill in that space. You're probably going to get stared at because you're making a new rule. You are
Mhm.
changing the rules. People don't like that. People react. People might tantrum. People don't like when you change up what they're used to.
Yeah. Then they have that discomfort that they have to deal with.
Mhm.
And it's amazing to see how many adults cannot process their own discomfort. Yep. Yep.
And you know what? That could be fun for you too, depending on who the family member is. It's okay to watch people squirm.
Yes. And we get, again, I think this goes back to like, we're so afraid of the reaction, the what if,
Right.
that we don't even do the thing. I'm so glad that you broke down like the stepwise of how to create and then enforce a boundary because it shows up all the time. In real life, for us, we have this Sunday night is sacred kind of thing. We don't like to be out too late or too far from home. So if we get invited to something, it's like my husband and I have agreed on this a long time ago. We will say, okay, we have a hard stop at 7. So if it's a dinner reservation or it's a movie or like whatever the case may be, we just need to be home by 7. We like to do that on Sunday nights. This can show up with money, like the vacation you talked about. You travel with people, some people are funny with money. If they're like, oh, let's go to this elaborate restaurant or let's take a really cheap flight and it's at 2 a.m. and it's going to be a pain in the tush to deal with all the logistics. You're allowed to say, you know what? I'd rather pay less for this experience or pay more for that experience. So whatever works for you. Uh,
I'll meet you there. You
mhm.
can, that's fine. We're going
Yeah.
to meet you there.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? That hotel's a bit out of our budget, but go ahead and stay there. That's fine. We'll stay somewhere else. We are okay with that.
Yeah, totally. And when there is that you're worried about like some kind of drama or contention coming up, it's okay to say a very generic or general statement that's like a softball that says, something like, that's a tough topic. I'm not ready to talk about that right now. I'm not ready to bring that up right now. I'm not available to talk about
Right.
that right now. Can we table that for later? Later could be like months later, right? Like, and it's
Absolutely.
completely okay to acknowledge that you and this other party are not on the same page, but you don't have to like hash out everything and fix everything right away. I think sometimes we forget that as moms, as women, and we wanna fix everything and make sure everyone's happy at the cost of ourselves and no more.
That's such a good statement.
Yeah.
One of the things I always talk about in my work is not getting on somebody's emotional roller coaster and that
Mm.
someone else can ride it. And you could, I always joke because I actually don't like roller coasters and I'm always the person at the bottom holding everybody's jackets. So I just say, you don't have to ride the roller coaster. You can sit at the bottom and hold the jackets. And that is a boundary. That
Yeah,
is a, I recognize that you're having trouble with this or you are processing this, or I don't know, on not great days. I was hearing, I see that you are freaking out about this. I'm not joining you. Right? I'm not getting on the roller coaster. I mean, not that I just say to my husband and he says it to me, like, we're not getting on your
yeah,
roller coaster today. Recognizing when it is emotionally too much or when a topic is going to stir up too much for you. I'll even say to my mom, if she's bringing up something and it's like stressing me out about my kids or whatever, I'll say, I can't do it right now. This is actually causing me extra stress. Thank you, but no, thank you.
yeah, sometimes you have to, and saying that no or that, like, not right now, it feels good. In the beginning, like you said, it is
Yeah.
gonna feel awkward and uncomfortable, but over time, you'll feel better because you've dropped that pause or no or halt, and then you now have so much more energy because you're not wasting that energy on resolving the issue that you can go out and do the big things you're trying to do. You're gonna like enjoy the trip so much more because it's set up in a framework that works for you and your family.
Right. You might actually not go out and take that walk every morning, or you
Yeah.
might not go to dinner with your family because you know you can. Just
Mm,
knowing you have that ability, just knowing those boundaries are there gives you so much freedom. Just knowing you can say to somebody, hey, I appreciate you talking to me about this, but it just causes me too much stress. Just having the words and the language to be able to communicate in that way
Yeah.
gives you freedom. And so you're not so like activated and prickly when certain topics come up because you know how to end them. I mean, that right there, everyone should go to therapy for like learning how to say to somebody in a not a prickly way, in a calm way, hey, this is too much, right? Or
Yeah.
just in general, setting boundaries. Go to therapy to set boundaries, you guys. Just
Yeah.
learn to do it.
Do you ever feel that after you do say no, there's like a change in the relationship with that person, better or worse?
That's a good question. Both, I
Yeah.
think. Absolutely. Especially if you've had a certain relationship with someone. As I said before, you're changing rules
Hmm.
and people don't like that. And so if you allowed someone to push a certain boundary or you've given into their demands or their expectations for so long and suddenly you put that boundary and you stick to it. Maybe you've tried setting it before and then you
Okay.
say, you know what, actually, I'm not taking this anymore.
Right.
No, I actually will not spend this time with you if you do this. Or no, I am not going to volunteer in that way. People don't like it. There are people who can't deal with that, but
Yeah.
that's about them. That is
Yeah.
not about you. And so if someone's going to be that prickly or they're going to cut you out of their life because they don't like that you don't agree with them, that's a tricky thing. And that very much is about them. And yes, you will have to work through and process perhaps a loss of a friend or a family member of that relationship. But to have someone in your life that you cannot be your authentic self with and you can't set boundaries with and you have to live up to their expectations always and you cannot have your own, it's not reversed, you're not really living so happy or comfortable
Yeah. It doesn't
anyway,
sound
I
fair.
would say.
And like once you have that, and that change in the relationship, right? With that other person, that's one piece. But like, what about the relationship you have with yourself? Isn't it important to know that you have your own back?
Right. Right. And I say to people all the time, if you're setting a boundary, sometimes know you're setting it for yourself.
Hmm.
They might not care. They
Right.
might not listen. They might not follow it. They might ignore it or forget it or all of the above. You are setting it for you.
Yeah.
That is a reminder to you that this is something that I am setting. And if you don't follow it, I am still going to follow through with my own expectation, right? Some people have to be trained that these
Yeah.
are the boundaries I'm setting, right? Just like a child, if you keep leaving your dishes on the table, I don't know, whatever your consequence is, eventually they're going to, I don't know, we're still working on it, but
Yeah.
eventually they're supposed to clear their dishes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, moms, if you have a tip for that, please write in.
Yeah.
But just like that, you have to also, there are going to be people you have to train for your
Yeah.
boundaries. It's not going to go so smooth sailing for everyone,
No.
but hopefully for some people it will. Oftentimes, the saying no to participating in school events or volunteering, you don't really get much pushback for that. People might be like, oh, you'd be
Yeah.
great for that. But that's not going to be the same pushback as family. Family will push back often much harder.
Yeah. And with the holidays, it's back to back to back, I feel, with family events and I like to say we kick it off with stress giving and it just does not stop. And that's where all
Yes.
this it comes up for me or it has come up for me because that back to back to backness. It's not like, oh, we had a holiday in February and then we don't for a while. It's just like a lot. It's a lot. And I like your point about really cleaning up your boundaries and deciding and thinking about like, hey, what do I need to get through this chunky, funny block of time or this chunk of time where I'm going to be inundated with other people's expectations?
Right. And your own expectations, boundaries for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I know I've done this in the past. This year feels like too much. Maybe I don't need to, fill in the blank this
Right.
year. Maybe that tradition feels like that's going to be too much this year. And that's really fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And it's important to enjoy the family you have, right? And sometimes that's your friends or a chunk of family that you really connect with. And it's so important to remember you can experience the holiday in a joyful, pleasant way, not in a like, I must manage everything and every detail and every emotion and everything and every craft and every meal. That's not fun. And then I am not fun when I'm the manager. No, I'm not. I've been told. I believe that. Yeah, we forget like the
Yeah,
whole point of this is to like have a good time and not
right.
be pressured to do all the things.
Exactly. I had a client yesterday and I told her I was going to share this in my podcast. Thank you. But she was like at her wits' end, like kids, the dogs, everything in the holiday season. And she just like lost it. The kids were just like out of control and she lost it and was like telling me that she was telling her partner, she's like, I'm throwing the elves into the fireplace. We're done with them. And it just had me laughing, like the things that we do
Yeah.
that are just like enough, recognize your own limitations, put your expectations lower. It's still that whole like woman up
Yeah.
on the pedestal that we talked about. Like, it's okay. Your kids will be happy, right? You're still like doing stuff. It's fine. And then also, perhaps if these other boundaries were set and these other expectations, as you said earlier, if we make more space by setting those, then we have the time for the other things that we want to do,
Yeah.
like the elves or the cookies or, I don't know, more time to visit more family during the holidays
Yeah.
or
Or like do the things
driving
you want to
further.
do. Yeah. And there is like there it's hard in the beginning just like any form of change, but there is payoff, right? Like there's long-term benefit to you, your mental health, your emotional health, and the
Absolutely.
relationship that you have with yourself. I feel like boundaries are the ultimate self-care. And it's not selfish. It's
No,
every boundary that you enact and enforce is like a deposit in your wellness bank account, right? Like you are literally taking care of yourself in real time.
you are
And I think that's super important to realize because I think we get lost in the I'm supposed to do this and it's the holidays and da da da. But if you're not enjoying the holidays, you might want to take a look at kind of why.
right. Those are those shoulds,
Yeah,
right?
the
Getting rid of the
shoulds will get
shoulds.
us there. They'll get us in
Yeah.
trouble.
So what's your take too?
So I really think it comes down to, for me at least, when you say no to something or someone, you're really saying yes to yourself. Like, no is very liberating because then it frees up your mental space, time, energy, what have you, to then fill it up with something else that you like. And I'm not saying we have to fall into the productivity trap. That something else could be like, nah, I'm going to sleep early. I don't need to drive far to see the cousin I don't really like and drive all through the night. I'll just have my holiday at my house on my terms with my family and be in my own bed every night, right? So that's saying yes to you and your family and no to an experience you don't really want. Um, so it has this like weightiness to it. No is just the first step to another kind of yes. So that's my big take home message. What about you?
I like it. I like it. I think picking like an expectation that you realize people have for you during the
Mm,
holiday season, and just any of them, and practice using that, practice finding a boundary you can put to it, and whether it's, no commenting on what I'm eating or my
yeah.
kids are eating. Another really big one for, I don't know, I think for everybody, but I used to enforce this when my kids were younger too, is no one's forcing a hug from my kids,
Oh, yes.
right? Body autonomy, no touching. You can ask them if they want a hug. If they don't, you can ask them for a high five. They
Yeah.
don't want to high five you, move on.
My kids do fist pump.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because I'm also
Fabulous.
like germs
That as
and
well.
then like the creepiness factor.
Yes. Well, right. The whole touching thing, right? But like, no one should be forcing anybody's children
Yeah.
to hug anybody. And, wearing what you want to wear, picking whatever that boundary is and practice it.
Yeah.
Practice
Yeah.
setting one or picking the expectation, excuse me, picking the expectation and setting the boundary that goes along with it, practicing it. And then also saying no to things and enjoying it. Say
Mm.
no to the cookies, say no to sending in, I don't know, 20 snowflakes that are cut out with the little scissors, saying no to your child wants to, I don't know, make something with you and after school and you're tired, you can say no to your kid too.
Yeah.
That's okay. they can play independently. And then when you have those reserves and you have the energy, that gives you time to do the things you do enjoy with them.
Yeah.
Maybe you do want to sit and do arts and crafts or play a game or read a book with them or snuggle, or I don't know. My younger one loves to do the New York Times spelling bee.
Oh,
That's like his new thing in the morning. He like eats his oatmeal and wants to do spelling bee. I'm like, you're going to be a great old man,
yeah.
but this is like you are going to rock it. But you have then the energy to do those
Yeah.
because you said no to the things that don't actually
Yeah.
suit you.
Totally. That totally makes sense. I hope this was helpful for our friends out there. If you enjoyed our episode, you have questions, comments, concerns, throw us a comment down below. Send us an email. We'll throw up some links so that everyone has access to us. We appreciate your support. Hopefully, this helps you
Yes,
navigate the holidays a little bit better. Set those boundaries, folks. And
please
enforce them.
do.
Yeah.
Please do. And I hope
So,
everyone has a great holiday season. You
yeah.
too.
Thank you. You too. I'm excited.
Thank you.
We're all having the last 2 weeks of the month off, so off-ish.
So are we, actually.
I'm really looking forward to that.
That's a boundary, setting a
It is,
boundary.
but to get the last 2 weeks off, I need to, hustle my bustle the first 2 weeks, so
Yeah. Yeah. So back to work is what you're
back to
saying.
work. Yeah, because when you're doing
So,
it all
yes. So until the next time or until the next crisis, we are heading back to work
yeah,
because
there are no sick days.
no sick days. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
No Sick Days is for information and education only. It is not medical or mental health treatment. Listening to this podcast does not create a medical or therapeutic relationship. Please talk to a qualified professional for care that is right for you.